The US government banned tokenmaxxing, the death of words, and SpaceX. Charlie Munger once said, "Show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome." Well, the world only got a few days to try out Fable, formerly Mythos, but it seems Anthropic decided to do a little tokenmaxxing of their own, rather than relying on the likes of Uber, Amazon and Meta to roll out engagement-driving leaderboards. Anthropic appears to have shipped a model so neurotic that it never stops ruminating. If you zoom out and look at Anthropic's incentives, which include both building ever more powerful models and keeping token usage soaring ahead of a potential IPO, everything starts to make a bit more sense. Rumination and infinite loops may prove useful for cyber attacks, but I'm not convinced consumers are crying out for endless reasoning chains, nor am I sure most enterprise workloads will benefit from them either. Either way, Semi-Analysis has taken a look at how much Anthropic and OpenAI may be subsidising their AI plans, and the numbers throw up something slightly confusing. Recent figures suggested OpenAI is operating at a 30 to 50% gross margin, but if Semi-Analysis estimates are anywhere close to correct, all that rumination is burning a sizable hole in the foundation model company's pockets. I imagine all will be revealed when the IPO paperwork finally lands. Two fascinating data points on the impact of LLMs on written culture. First up, Tim Ferriss recently noted that his physical book sales are down 80% since the launch of ChatGPT. Meanwhile, blogs, once the go-to growth hack for SEO, appear to be following a remarkably similar trajectory. For years, businesses churned out content in the hope of capturing search traffic. Increasingly, that traffic is disappearing altogether. In the first 4 months of 2026, 68% of Google searches ended without a click. AI overviews are rapidly turning Google from a search engine into a destination in its own right. Rather than sending users off across the web, Google and increasingly Gemini are simply answering the question themselves. For readers, that might be convenient. For authors, publishers, and the countless businesses built on search traffic, it is a rather different story. SpaceX is undeniably an incredibly cool company. But monitoring the SpaceX IPO can surface some of the more disingenuous takes on the internet. As cool as SpaceX is, implying a 5,000x increase in the share price from here seems a stretch. That would imply a market capitalization somewhere north of $10 quadrillion, which feels ambitious, especially when the entire world's GDP is around $111 trillion, according to the World Bank. If the world had profit margins of 20% and a 400x PE multiple, you'd get close to SpaceX's implied terminal state. I'm not entirely convinced that both halves of the BG2 pod would align on this one. This week's funding saw strong rounds across the UK tech ecosystem. Capsa AI, a startup building the AI operating system for private capital, raised $13 million in Series A funding, co-led by TX Ventures and Pivot Investment Partners. Flagrite, an AI operating system for financial crime compliance, raised $9.3 million in Series A funding led by Infinity Ventures. And Zaro, a London-based AI platform that replaces fragmented AI tooling with a single adaptive workspace, raised $3.8 million in pre-seed funding led by Cherry Ventures. In space and deep tech, New Orbit, a satellite manufacturer for very low Earth orbit, raised $14 million in Series A funding led by Voyager Ventures. Optera, a neuromorphic sensing startup delivering space domain awareness technology, raised $3 million in funding led by UKI2S. In health and medtech, Frontier Health, the startup behind Juno, a supportive AI teammate designed for NHS administrative teams managing patient care pathways, raised $12 million in seed funding led by Atomico, and Zenova, a medtech pioneer dedicated to eliminating healthcare-associated infections at the source, raised $2.1 million in seed funding led by Athena Capital. Links in the newsletter. We'll see you next week.